answers and rebuttals and that kind of thing. So we drew numbers actually, for opening statements. And our first opening statement of the evening, it will be a 1-minute opening statement, comes from Brenda Bergwitz. Go right ahead.
Hello, my name is Brenda Bergwitz. I'm 74 years old. 2 years ago, I ran for German Township Advisory Board and won, and then I moved. My husband passed away a year ago, and I moved into leisure living. Found out I wasn't in German Township. I was in. I feel like I can really serve the community and be a servant for the people.
Native, I'm very excited to be here right now, addressing why I am the best candidate to represent the taxpayers of Vanderburgh County. I grew up and I was raised outside of city limits. I spent 7 summers working as a lifeguard within our city pools. I headed off to college at Purdue University and then to IU School of Law in Indianapolis. 4.5 years ago, I moved back to my hometown where I'm a practicing and licensed attorney. It is my hope that one day I too will be able to raise a family in a community that I so value, continuing and honoring the legacy of my family's deep roots. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And our third opening statement of the evening comes from Cheryl Musgrave.
Good evening. I will put my experience to work full-time on better roads, keeping taxes low, and good-paying jobs. Many voters are angry with government and political parties, and they're looking for real change. You may be thinking that this is all true, but only at the national level. Well, when I listen to voters, I hear real anger at what is happening at the local level. Voters tell me that government taxes too much and spends too much, with no respect for how hard it was to earn those dollars. And it isn't just the money. Government has overregulated nearly every aspect of our lives. I have the who speaks her mind and does what she thinks is right for the whole community.
Thank you, Cheryl. We appreciate that. All right, time now for our first question, and I'll start, we'll shake up the sequence here a little bit, and why don't we start this one with Alex Schmitt. Define the role.
We're safe, making sure that our law enforcement officers, that our jail, everyone who's involved with our safety is taken care of and given the assets that they need to keep our safety as their top priority and to keep them safe as well.
Thank you very much. And Brenda Bergwitz, we'll have you weigh in on that. How do you define the role of the office you're seeking, the county commission seat?
Well, there again, I think I would want to get the community involved and start having meetings with them to get their input as well, because it's not just the county commissioner's role, and as every office that's around, that we need to get them involved in. There again, I believe in transparency above anything, and in jobs and the roads.
All right. And Cheryl Musgrave, your opportunity.
Thank you. The role of a county commissioner is as the chief executive for the county. All the important decisions about running county government run through the chief executive, much the same way as the important decisions in the city run through the mayor. The commissioner's #1 responsibility to the people, to the voters, to the residents, is road construction. It's extremely important that roads are well maintained and that we build roads that bring economic development to our whole community. And I'm out of time.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. We'll turn the questions over to our Courier and Press panel here in just a moment. But one more that I'd like to bring up before we do that. Obviously, this is a Republican Party contest. So we'd like each of you to weigh in on what you believe is the state of the local Republican Party today, and how will you use your position, if elected, to shape the party. And this time, let's start with Cheryl Musgrave.
I don't think that voters are terribly interested in political parties today. I've heard a great deal of dissatisfaction with both political parties. Voters really want to know, what will we do for them? And I can tell you that I'll be concentrating, and you'll know about it, building them. Cost to do any particular section of roads. So I'll be focusing on roads, but I won't lose sight of other important issues, property taxes. Every voter I've spoken to is deeply concerned about their property tax bill. I will do what it takes to pay attention to that for you.
Thank you, Cheryl. And Brenda Bergwitz, how would you use your position?
Well, you know, with the road funding bill passed by the legislature, the $430 million going to the cities, towns, and counties over the next 2 years from local option income tax will provide options for repair and reconstruction work.
All right, and finally on this question of how will you use your position, if elected, to shape the Republican Party, Alex Schmitt.
Thanks, John. As Ms. Musgrave said just a few minutes ago, the perception of the public right now regarding our government leaders from both sides of the party, people are a little upset. But it's our role to have positive leaders, people who can work together with others, collaborative leadership, as we say, and have the morals of our community here that can help progress the positive direction that we've already been set in. So that's what I represent. I represent a new vision, a new slate, and continued positive progress for our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, let's move now to our panel from the Evansville Courier and Press. The first question to our three Republican candidates this evening comes from Zach Evans.
This question is, we'll start off with Brenda. The county recently changed providers for the voluntary county employee 457 retirement plan, which upset some county employees. Would you have handled the situation any differently as county commissioner, and would you suggest any changes if elected?
I think from the very beginning that the commissioners should have went to the people that had the insurance and talked it over with them. I don't think that they handled it the right way. They might have thought they did, but I think you need to be upfront and honest with the people. They might not like what you're going to do, but at least they'll know the facts then and not wait several months later.
And Cheryl, would you mind answering that question? What would you have done as county commissioner with the retirement plan?
I would have handled it completely differently than it was handled. First, I'm not sure that I would have taken any action at all. The employees were happy with it. Secondly, doesn't pass the smell test. I believe it was wrong, and I hope that the commissioners take action to reverse it.
That's done.
And Alex, what would you have done if you were county commissioner with the retirement plan?
Zach, what I would have done was very simply put it out to bid. Ensure that a thorough and thought out request for proposal. Sorry, my attorney came in a little bit. A thorough and thought out request for proposal was sent out for any bids, any contracts, to any vendors. I disagree with my opponent that an advisory board should be gathered. The county commissioners are elected into that position and should be able to make that decision of the bids that come in. Otherwise, we're going to get way too many people's hands involved. There's going to be way too many ideas. Allow it to happen to those three people, but do it in a transparent way of bidding out to those vendors.
All right, and that is time.
Cheryl, would you like to respond to Mr. Schmidt's comments?
I don't think perhaps it's well understood that this is not county money. It is the individual money of the employees. And while you may have the right to do something, you shouldn't just do it for that reason. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. And the commissioners are not to act as imperial legislators. They're there to represent people, whether those are voters, residents, or the employees of the county.
Schmitt,
When I met with the county engineer just yesterday, he and I talked about what their limitations were. And I think that's the first tenet of being a leader in our community, is to meet with those other department heads, the people that are the ones that are requesting those funds, that are in need of certain assets. So that's really where I would start. I would start there because I can, if I were elected, be able to work with other people. And like I said, I don't have all the answers. If I knew where all the money was, I don't know if I would be here right now. But it's the ability to work with others that's the important thing.
All right, and that's time. Would
Ms.
you like to-
Musgrave?
Yes. Would Cheryl Musgrave, would you like to respond?
Well, your question is, how would we find money for road funding? Well, we already have a great deal of money for road funding, and I looked into the road funding trend for the past 5 years, and I was alarmed to see that the road funding that we've allocated has had a 73% decrease over the past 5 years. We started out with 1.1 million in 2011, and in 2015 we're down to 300,000. I couldn't find anyone who could explain that to me, and so I believe that we need to look into that. Was 2011 just an election year? Money was found from somewhere and they poured it into roads to look good, and now we're back to reality at 300,000? Or indeed, has something else occurred? I asked, who's in charge of road funding in the county commission? And the answer I got was, well, you know how it is, and I can't really tell you how much we have. Well, who can? Well, I'm not really sure. So I believe that we need to have a road funding planning session.
And that is time. Would you like Brenda Bergwitz to weigh in on the issue of finding money for county roads
Well,
and bridges?
after what I just said a little bit ago, but I would say Americans should all realize our government doesn't actually produce and revenue itself. Our government is funded by the hard work and taxes of its people, which it collects.
Next question from the Evansville Courier and Press panel will come from Mr. John Webb.
And we'll address this first to Ms. Musgrave. This is a step away from the roads issue, but would you approve adding lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transsexual protections to the county's Human Relations Ordinance to offer the same civil rights protections to the LGBT community as the county already does for those with age, gender, nationality, and other things?
Yes.
There you go.
That was perhaps our quickest answer of the evening. Brenda Bergwitz, would you like to answer that question?
No, marriage is between one man and one woman, as simple as that, and it's my belief.
Okay, and Alex Schmitt?
Repeat the question, please.
Yeah, sure. Would you approve adding lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transsexual protections to the county Human Relations Ordinance?
Yes.
Once again, very short answers. We appreciate that, of course. So we'll move on now to our next question from the panel, and that would be from Zach Evans.
This question's for Brenda to start off. In 2012, the county and city voted on consolidating both governments. Did you support local government consolidation, and would you consider opening those discussions again? Why or why not?
I was against consolidation, and I'm still against consolidation.
Why or why not?
Why or why not? Just because the city runs out of money doesn't mean that they can come out in the county and take ours. I mean, you know, it's got to stop somewhere. They need to get control of their budget as well.
Alex, same question.
No, I'm not in support. I didn't live here during that vote, but going forward, no, I would not support it. And the reason being is because as the representative of the taxpayers, let's go back to when it was already voted on. The taxpayers and the citizens already said they didn't want it. A resounding no from both the county and the city. So if I'm going to effectively represent them, no, I would not be in favor of it because they've already spoken about it.
Cheryl?
No. The voters have twice rejected. Again,
need to do to prepare for the onslaught of housing and commercial development?
Thanks, John. It's, that brings up the topic of our positive growth. You look to the future, and that's what it's going to be. We're going to be continuing to expand. I understand that that's a concern. It's already a concern. With more housing, with more schools, with more buildings in general going up. The best way that I see fit to resolving that issue is to work with the other department heads so that someone's gonna have to compromise, but it's about working together. And the only way that we're going to match these issues and resolve these issues is if everyone works together. Just works together, and that's what I bring to the table.
All right.
Ms. Bergwitz?
I would have to do some research on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cheryl?
we've already spoken about roads. A key component of the commissioner's job is roads. If you're going to have 11,000 new homes in Vanderburgh County, or new businesses, or new people, you need the ability to get them in and out. Our roads are very narrow. I've already told you my ideas about road planning. Sewers also come along with that. You have to have water and sewer to support the new development. We have a need to run water and sewer to the county, and that's not even talking about the 35% surcharge that county residents pay that city residents don't. That needs to be addressed. We also have to have proper planning. The comprehensive plan that came out this year, I was a critic of it. I was a critic because the elephant in the room was left out of the planning process. No one spoke to the school corporation, and everyone, when they move to a new community, they look at the school system first to move there. That was a big gap, and I will take steps to address it.
All right, thank you very much. Just a quick reset for our listeners on WNIN FM. This is the Courier and Press Vanderburgh County Commissioners Debate, live from Evansville's Central Library. It's the Republican candidates for the 3rd District Commission seat joining us tonight. Also questioning tonight members of the Evansville Courier and Press. And we'll go back to that panel for the next question. I believe it'll be Jay Young.
We'll address this one to you, Ms. Musgrave. Research has shown that most of the worst looking properties in the city, the most blighted properties in the city, at some point have passed through that process. What are your ideas to change that system to maybe eliminate that problem?
As you know, the tax sale is conducted by the county treasurer. The commissioners have the responsibility for the commissioner's sale, and this tax sale properties that don't sell at the tax sale move to the commissioners. Commissioners can take title, and then they can sell the properties. The way the commissioners are handling the commission sale properties is a disgrace. The properties are frequently not boarded up well. The properties are not maintained. No one mows the grass. The properties are not visited for vandalism. I know, Jay, from reading your stories, you would go out and find people living there, whether people who had been living there all along, squatters. I would change that. When I was commissioner before, I had the properties mowed. I'll do that again. There are some other changes that need to be done. Why did the property go up on tax sale in the first place? You need to address those concerns. Perhaps the properties need to be reassessed. I've noticed that the tax sale properties are ridiculously overassessed. I have more ideas, but I'm out of time.
Out of time, yes. All right. And I believe Brenda Bergwitz would be next on, would you like to respond to that?
I would have to do some research on that. You've done a good job.
Thank you.
All right, and then Alex Schmitt.
I see this as it's a liability for the county, first off, of having to own all of these abandoned properties that when we have space that's not getting used. And this is a perfect opportunity for the utilization of the land bank. we have to be able to revitalize, we have to be able to rehab, and we have to be able to efficiently use our space here. And by utilizing that land bank, we're able to turn those things around, and it gets it off of the liability of the county as well.
All right, thank you very much. I'll take a quick question here, if I may. We were talking earlier about, obviously, this is a Republican Party debate here, and we talked earlier about the party, or maybe how people feel about political parties these days. Already made primaries, making those.
I would be very honored to answer that, sir. There again, I'm 74 and I'm first time running for office. And you know, there's a lot of young people out there, men and women, that would love to run for office, but then they see something like that just happened. You know, when there's a primary going on and there's more than one person running, I'm sorry, whether it's a Democrat Party or Republican Party or independent, they should not pick or endorse somebody from the very beginning. I think it's sad. I think it's a travesty. Thank you.
All right, and Cheryl Musgrave, your response to the question?
Well, I can say copy that. And I can also say that, again, once again, I don't think the typical voter, even Republican voters, are interested in this issue. They want to hear how we're going to help them. They don't want to hear that we're going to get involved in party fights. So I respectfully decline to go any further.
All right, and then let's take it to Alex Schmitt, who we will point out was one of the candidates endorsed by the county chair. Alex, how do you respond to that, well, that idea of endorsing before the primaries?
Well, thanks, John, for putting me in an awkward situation. You know, while I was honored and pleased that I did get the party's endorsement, it wasn't really anything that held overly heavy weight with me. I mean, I'm busy doing door-to-door, being an attorney, making phone calls and campaigning. And, you know, while I don't know if that really should have been Wayne's responsibility to do or action to make, I really don't know, because it's not my place. But yeah, I just have a lot more things going on than to worry about someone's endorsement.
All right, thank you very much. And the Wayne you're referring to, of course, is Republican Party Chairman Wayne Park.
Address jail over.
In the good part of the jail, on the good part of the bars and the cells, it is overcrowded, and it does provide for concern, because you have the liability of the safety of those inmates, you have the liability of the safety of the law enforcement officers and the correction facility officers. The problem is that we have to have the money to make those improvements. But you also have to have the support behind the sheriff to make sure that they get the assets that they need to continue to provide their safety, our safety, and just working with them. Sheriff Wedding has recently proposed a new command post. I would be behind him 100% to make sure he gets what he needs.
All right, and that is time.
Cheryl, would you mind answering, what would you do to address jail overcrowding?
Well, building a bigger jail might temporarily ease this overcrowding, and just so you know, the jail was constructed to house 540 prisoners, and it averaged 577 prisoners a day back in 2015. But I think we need to look at the entire problem. Building bigger jails is not going to solve the jail crisis. We need to solve the problem that is causing people to go to jail. I met with the CAGE people, Citizens for Acting Justice. I'm sorry for not being able to get it right. C-A-J-E, CAGE. They have a very compassionate approach. They would like to take certain offenders and not send them to jail. If your problem is mental illness, if your problem is substance abuse, do you really belong in a jail situation right next to somebody who's in there for shooting a gun, perhaps even murder, while they're waiting for their trial? The sheriff talked to me about the possibility of building a dormitory to put some of these folks in.
Thank you,
Am I out of
Cheryl.
time?
I'm afraid, yeah, we'll have to stop it there. And Brenda Bergwitz will certainly give you an opportunity to weigh in on overcrowding at the jail. What would you do as a
Well,
county
this here
commissioner?
I sort of know for a fact, because my grandson was there from November until January. He's at Branchville now. I turned him in to his grandmother. He's up there for drug reasons. I'm going to, of Indiana is up, will return with less likely to return. And fortunately, we will continue with policies that incarcerate people for failing to pay a bill or other nonviolent behavior. We need to reevaluate
that's
our
time,
focus. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And our next question from the Courier and Press panel comes from John Webb.
Yeah, and this one will be for Ms. Musgrave first. Warwick County recently started a curbside recycling program. While that rollout it's been kind of tumultuous, would you like to see Vanderburgh County implement one? And if so, how would you like to see that done?
Well, first, let me correct my butchering of CAGE's acronym. They are the Congregations Acting for Justice and Empowerment. So I wanted to first say that. Second, while I didn't follow everything that happened in Warwick County, I got the impression that they structured the bid documents so that only one bidder was qualified to actually receive the contract. That sort of bidding practice is wrong, and I won't engage in it. And as to the question of putting recycling into the county, that would have to come, a request and a momentum behind that would have to come from the homeowners and the business owners themselves. I believe only homeowners would be affected because business owners have to get their own. So they would have to ask for that to be done through a county contract. And I would want to hear their reasons why, and we'd all go into the costs of it before we would take a leap in that direction.
Thank you very much. And perhaps a response from Brenda Bergwitz. Would you like to see a recycling program? It's already in the city. Would you like to see one in the county as well?
I would want to do a little bit of research on that before I can make an answer, an honest answer.
All right. Well, let's give Alex Schmitt an opportunity to respond to the question regarding a recycling program for the county.
Personally, I would love it. I currently recycle every 2 weeks when the pickup comes. I very rarely have anything in my actual trash can. My large recycling can is currently full. I would love to provide that to the citizens of the county if that's something that they wanted. My parents it makes things a lot easier. It makes things a lot easier to get it done and efficient.
All right, and that is time. We thank you very much. I'll take a quick question here as we move along. It's sort of in that same area. We have, there are various contracts for various services like recycling and trash pickup and that kind of thing. One that comes up in the county, I believe it's once every 3 years, is the towing contract. And that often seems to be a bit in dispute. The question is, should the county put the towing contract out for regular competitive bids as opposed to a long-term contract that just seems to repeat? And Alex Schmitt, we'll start with you on that one.
Yes, they should. Like you said, John, it's a key word in bidding: competitive. It makes sure that not only are we using our taxpayers' money, hard-earned money, efficiently, but we're also doing so competitively to make sure that the other companies that are producing their bids are giving the available services that instead of running the prices up. It's very simple. Doing so with a request for proposal, submitting bids, it keeps everything on the level, it keeps everything out there.
All right, and we'll allow Cheryl Musgrave a chance to respond.
Yes, put it out for bid, open RFP, award it to the best bidder, write the bid specifications carefully with consultation with all these services that call them. I know that the Sheriff's Department is the big caller of the tow trucks and the rescue services. We need to make sure that we're structuring the bid to make sure that our needs are being met. But yes, put it out for bid, award it to the best bidder, and move on.
All right, and Brenda Bergwitz, your response to that?
Yes, I don't believe there should be a set rotation between towing companies, but I do believe it's time to open the services up to other companies. I believe the current deal with the current towing companies has turned too political, and it is over the
Two beautiful historic buildings in downtown Evansville, both of which are owned by the county commissioners. With the old courthouse turning 125 and the Soldiers and Sailors Coliseum turning 100 this year, how will you address the county's aging historical buildings in need of major capital repairs?
The old courthouse underwent a major renovation. I think it was in 2005, perhaps. Perhaps $9 million, if I remember correctly, was poured into the roof repairs and having new electric wiring run. I visited the courthouse recently. It's been recently painted inside, and it looks wonderful. The window replacements were a wonderful feature to it. Structurally, the commissioners have taken excellent care of that building over the past few years, and I would certainly want to see that continue. The Coliseum is leased to the Veterans Group, and they oversee the use and function of that building. When I was commissioner, we paid to have a new roof put on that, a rubber roof, to make sure that the structure didn't deteriorate anymore. I foresee situations like that continuing because that's a great building, and we need to make sure that it remains for generations.
Thank you, Cheryl.
All right, thank you very much. And Alex Schmitt, your response?
Can you repeat the question, Zach? I want to make sure I've got it all.
Sure. The county commissioners own both the old courthouse and the Soldiers and Sailors Coliseum. How will you address the capital repair needs that these historic buildings require?
I love all the history that we have here. A brief history about my family. My father opened his first law firm in a historic building. I grew up with that as kind of a second home, and so I have a lot of pride in our history, and I recognize that as the rehabbing and the revitalization is going to be a big key component to the positive growth of our community. There are organizations out there that are able to take over the construction, the rehabbing. We just have to find them. They just did it. Indiana Landmarks just did it for the Greyhound building, and it's starting to come along.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Brenda, how are historic buildings?
I agree both with Cheryl and Alex, but at the same time, we need to get the people more involved. Our veterans they're awesome, and we need to take better care of things that we're doing for both of those buildings are great, but we need to get the public more involved and let them know how valuable they really are to the community.
All right, and thank you very much. Just to reset for our folks listening on WNIN FM, this is the Courier and Press Vanderburgh County Commissioners debate. Tonight we're hearing from the three candidates for the District 3 Vanderburgh County Commission seat, and that would be Brenda Bergwitz, who you just heard from, also Cheryl Musgrave, and Alex Schmitt, who are with us here this evening at Evansville's Central Library. And we'd like to thank the Evansville Vanderburgh Public Library once again for allowing us to use the Browning Room. Our next question will come from the Courier and Press panel. We'll turn it over to Jay Young.
Mr. Schmitt will address this question to you. Speaking of county-owned properties, let's talk about the residential properties the county owns. At most times during the year, the county owns sometimes hundreds of residential properties. Many of them are often uncut lots. Many of them are homes that should be cited for code violations. What do you think the county should do with those properties?
I completely agree with you, John. I see it every night. I take my dog on a 3-mile walk every single night up and down Harmony Way, and the type of disrepair in some of the homes along our streets and within our neighborhoods, it makes me cringe that not everyone's taking pride in such a beautiful community. But the county does own some of those properties, and they're in charge of making sure that the tall grass gets cut. Just enforcing those codes to make sure that it's done on a regular basis. I mean, I felt before that I wanted to go out and just trim some of the grass, but that's not under my purview as a normal citizen. And I think it's just more about being consistent with those enforcements.
Like a
You're asking the county to basically enforce against itself?
No, enforcing those, making sure that the enforcements are followed through with.
Okay.
Yeah, that the little orange flags, that it gets taken care of consistently.
Ms. Musgrave?
There are a couple, you mentioned both vacant land and land with structures. Vacant land needs to be to both not-for-profit. Reasonable repair should be auctioned by the commissioners with the structure still on it. That's irresponsible, and it should stop immediately. The structure should be torn down, and again, the land turned over to developers in an organized and proactive, pro-development way to make it go back into tax paying status.
All right, thank you very much. And Brenda Bergwitz, your response to this? You want to ask the question again there, Jay?
What should the county often at different times of the year owns hundreds of properties. Many are blighted structures, some are empty lots that often go uncut. What should the county do with these properties?
Okay. Well, if need be, there could be public auction, but no private or non-transparent or crony deals. But there again, we need to get the people involved, and the ones that live next door. We need to all get out there and start doing our job, as citizens. Like it was years ago when I was growing up. We took care of each other, and I think it's time that we come back to that.
All right, thank you very much. We appreciate that. I'll take a question here as we move along in our debate here. This is one I ask at situations like this. You're all three running for the Vanderburgh County Commission. I'd just like to give each of you a chance to tell us how many county commission meetings you have attended, say, in the past year. I mean, we just want to know if you are, in fact, checking in and watching the commission that you would like to serve on. And we can start with Alex Schmitt on that one.
No, I haven't. I'm a practicing attorney, and the meetings are held at 4 o'clock, which I'm not really sure why they are. I did to improve it, to make
County Commission meeting.
Now they meet every 2 weeks or twice a month. It forces the department heads and other elected officials who have contracts that the commissioners need to sign to wait. It forces rezoning petitions to wait. It forces anyone who has business with the commissioners to wait. Why did we have this change so that the commission met less frequently? Is the public's needs less important now than it was before? I would take a strong look at that. And I think 4 o'clock is a reasonable time to meet. It prevents a lot of overtime among the officials, and mostly it's elected and appointed officials who have to attend the meetings. So it's reasonable, and 4 o'clock is late enough.
All right, thank you very much. And Brenda Bergwitz, can you tell us,
A few years ago, when the Consolidation Court group, I went once, but then this year I have been to almost every one of them. And about 6 weeks ago, or maybe a little bit longer, I was sitting there listening, and there was somebody there that was wanting to build a subdivision type thing out by North High School. And I mean, Bruce Argentine had took his time being an engineer and went through a lot of things, but I'm sitting back in the audience and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what am I in for? What am I doing? But it's very interesting, and again, I'm there for the people.
All right, thank you very much. We'll go back to the Courier and Press panel here for another question, and this one comes from Zach Evans.
In that same vein, and I'll ask this question first to Ms. Musgrave, what complaints do you have about the current county commission? And could you please elaborate on those complaints?
Well, we've talked about the tax sale process, commission sale process, auctioning off dilapidated structures to people who cannot possibly have enough money to repair those structures, and so it causes further deterioration of that house and the neighborhood around it. We've talked about their lack of mowing those properties. I've praised the commissioners for their maintenance of the county coliseum and the courthouse. I've discussed that their meetings are infrequent. They're not frequent enough. They're not doing business on business's time. They're doing business on government time, and we need to go back to doing business the way the community needs the commissioners to do business. I think that that's sufficient for tonight.
And Brenda, what complaints do you have about the current county commission, and could you please explain those complaints?
Repeat that, please.
What complaints do you have about the current county commissioners, and could you explain them?
The
please?
times that I've been going this year, other than when about the insurance thing came up, that's the only thing that I've seen so far. But like I say, I've just been going this year. But when they did that with the employees about their insurance and that, I didn't think that was a good thing.
And same question, Alex, please.
You know, there's always room for improvement, and we've talked a little bit about the certain things that we all would do as commissioners to improve on that office. I think moving the time back so that it would be manageable for everyday working people to attend, since these are supposed to be the representatives of the community, and just being able to go and voice their concerns instead of 4 o'clock. Transparency, and continuing to work with the other department heads, with the other offices, and doing so collaboratively.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, I'll ask a quick one here. We did allude to earlier the plan from the Sheriff's Department to build a new command post on the property of the county jail. For some of us, that seemed to come sort of out of nowhere. It was a proposal that at least I hadn't heard too much about before it was brought up at the county commission meeting. I'd just like to get your feedback on what you think of that idea and how it might affect, as we talked about earlier, jail overcrowding, if there would be, would it perhaps cause a problem in terms of, no way to expand the jail. Let's begin with you, Brenda, on what you think of that idea of building that new command post there on the jail property.
I was there at the meetings when they talked about it, and it sounded like a good thing. And Sheriff Wedding, he was there and talked about it. And I think their command post is out there on 41 right now, so down a ways by the airport. So at least it would make them closer, and they're at the jail.
Right. All right, and Cheryl Musgrave, what do you think of the idea there for that the new command post?
Well, that idea of having the command post sited with the jail was brought up at the time the jail bond was originally cut. There wasn't sufficient funds to do that. County Council had placed I believe it's a $35 million cap on constructing the jail, and so they bought as much jail as they possibly could with that cap. So any discussion of moving the command post from the airport property over to the jail had to wait. The Sheriff Wedding came up with a plan to do this and to save money. And it's a great deal. They are going to save money, but I will note that the county is saving money at the airport's expense. We were paying those fees, those rental fees to the airport. So yes, the county's saving money, but now the airport has a decrease until they can find a new tenant for the property. Once they find a new tenant for the property, it will truly be a savings. But it doesn't impact jail overcrowding at all. It is just moving the sheriff deputies from one place to another.
Thank you very much. And Alex Schmitt, what do you think of the plan?
I think it's a great idea, John. It helps provide a more up-to-date command post for our law enforcement officers. They need to be able to have that response technology in order to keep us safe. And if they need to be able to dispatch more calls, if they need to have training facilities, they need to get those resources because it keeps us safe, it keeps them safe. And overall, I'm fully behind this project.
All right, thank you very much. Well, let's try something a little different here. We'd like to give each candidate a chance to ask another one of the candidates a question here. We'll go with perhaps the sequence we had here at the beginning of the program. Brenda Bergwitz, is there a question you'd like to ask one of your opponents here while you've got the chance?
Just a second. Should the commissioners lobby legislators for tolling on potential Interstate 69 bridge in Evansville, and why or why not? Cheryl.
If I understand your question correctly, you're saying should the commissioners ask the legislators to charge a fee to cross the future new bridge? Only as a last resort. I understand that the bridge is very expensive, costing at least $800 million, and those $800 million are not found anywhere. And so everyone's come up with the grand idea, let's just put a toll on it and we'll charge people to cross it. Well, there's not enough traffic to generate enough tolls to retire an $800 million bridge, first. Second, we aren't going to close the other two bridges. Traffic will just go ahead and continue to use that in order to bypass the toll. Granted, that'll be a lot of local folks. But third, and this is where I get on a soapbox, and I say everybody else in the country, except Louisville, has gotten a free bridge. Why are we deciding up front that a toll is the only way to go? If it's the last resort, I will grudgingly go there. But I wanted to find every other possible solution first. Thank you for asking.
All right, and Alex Schmitt, we'll give you an opportunity to ask one of your opponents a question.
Cheryl, this is for you. I'm going to read off of my notes too. While you have publicly questioned my support of my teacher and friend, Jim Brinkmeyer, you have actively and publicly supported Democrat City Council members John Friend, Stephanie Brinkhofer Riley, and Al Lindsay, who then appointed you to the Evansville Redevelopment Commission. You worked hand in hand with them to oppose a new medical school downtown and advance their unpopular agenda. Given that history, why should Republican voters select you as their standard bearer? And shouldn't they select someone who will actually support Republicans and Republican ideals?
I don't know who Jim Brinkmeyer is, and I don't believe I've ever spoken about Mr. Brinkmeyer in any capacity, so your facts are wrong. Your facts are wrong that I worked with these actors to oppose a new med school. I had a client, and the client wanted the med school to be located on private development, and I was working for that client in this. And as an attorney, you should understand that you work for your client's best interests. Now, that said, the med school is going to be a true asset no matter where it's located. And I'm very happy that the med school is relocating from USI's campus to downtown. I'm happy that they are expanding their years from a 2-year to a 4-year. But I think that we need to get new medical residencies, that we need to lobby Congress for this, because it's ridiculous to produce medical school graduates who then have no residency options to go to. So we've got a key
That is time.
missing link here.
That is time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And so thirdly, Cheryl Musgrave.
Do I get a rebuttal?
Well, you could have a 30-second rebuttal
Thank
since
you, John.
she did mention you. Yes.
Cheryl, I'll just let you know that Jim Brinkmeyer is the 6th Ward Democrat who serves on City Council.
Oh, okay, thank you.
And what I was referring to was the reference to last year's primary where I voted for Jim Brinkmeyer.
All right, and Cheryl, since he mentioned you, you can have a 30-second rebuttal if you like.
I don't have a rebuttal.
Okay, okay. Well, let's move on then to a question here, and that would be for you, Cheryl Musgrave. You're free to ask a question of one of your opponents.
Well, I would like to ask Brenda to explain her views on the Constitution and how that relates to the office that you're seeking.
Well, the Constitution, I read it all the time. And when I joined the Marine Corps, I raised my hand and swore to the Constitution and just to uphold all of our beliefs and we the people for the people. And I'm not good at doing some things, but I just know that I believe in my Constitution and what it stands for. And we're taxed enough as it is, and I just believe in our Constitution.
And thank you very much. Well, it's time now for our closing statements. We'll go in a reverse order than we did at the beginning. So our first opening statement would come from Alex Schmitt. Closing statement.
First off, thanks to Zach and the Courier Press, John, for hosting this debate. I'm the best candidate for County Commissioner. You see, I believe that our community is on the cusp of something amazing. We have progressive advancements that we haven't seen since World War II, before my time. But in order to do that, we have to elect candidates who can collaboratively lead, who are in touch with the concerns of the taxpayers, and most importantly, leaders who have moral standards that have been passed down through multiple generations in this community. I'm proud of the traditions that have been instilled in me. I'm proud of our community. I'm proud of our history, and I would be proud to be the representative of our taxpayers as County Commissioner. I would appreciate your vote. Thank you and have a great night.
All right, and closing statement from Cheryl Musgrave. You have 60 seconds.
This election matters, and you deserve a candidate who has the maturity and judgment to follow through with the important work of county government. Someone who won't be rigidly ideological, and someone who will work for you. As County Commissioner, I pledge to treat the office as a full-time job, and I'll be ready to work from day one. That means paying attention to the issues that matter most and making the tough decisions now that will pay off in the future. We need to cut regulations. We need to build the roads and attract the industries that our community needs to prosper for generations to come. County residents deserve a stronger voice on issues including water rates and economic development. I know that a lot is going right in Evansville, and we are proud of all that we have accomplished as a community. Together, we can build a better Vanderburgh County, and I ask for your vote.
All right, and a closing statement now from Brenda Bergwitz. You have 1 minute.
Don't be fooled by my age. One doesn't get to this age by being a fool. Too inexperienced? Hell, everyone is at first. I didn't know all that much about being a Marine until I joined and became one. I am not going to single-handedly change the world or this community, but I will not sit by idly without lifting a finger. I don't need this job, I want this job. Why? Because I refuse to allow issues and change to become law without the full knowledge and consent of the people to do that. You must have a voice that you can trust, and I am a citizen. As they prefer to me as a granny candidate, I am one. We will save our country one town at a time. I hope to help us save this great land of ours right now, right here. Thank you. My name is Brenda Bergwitz, and I want to help you secure this nation, one village, one town, one city, one state at a time. God bless you, and I'd appreciate your vote May the 3rd.
All right, I'd like to thank all three of the candidates for joining us this evening. That's Brenda Bergwitz, who you just heard from, also Cheryl Musgrave and Alex Schmitt. They're all candidates on the Republican ticket for the District 3 Vanderburgh County Commission seat. I'd also like to thank the Evansville Courier and Press for sponsoring tonight's debate. I'd like to thank our questioners from the CNP, that's Zach Evans, John Webb, and Jay Young. I'd also like to thank Shannon Hall for running the clock back this evening, and also the crew here from WNIN FM for engineering tonight's program. We thank you all for attending. Have a very good evening. Thank you.